Hello. Good morning. How is everybody today? Hopefully you're good. Who have we got here? There's my chatterbox. Hello, Susan. Hello. How is he? Good. I'm glad you're good. Hello, Robert. Good morning. Sup, Aaron. Hello, Alison. Good to see you. Welcome to Algeria. Oh, isn't it nice? Just wonderful today. The sand, the sea, the surf. Lovely. Hopefully we're all doing good and we're ready for a bit of interesting philosophical phenomenon. Is that a word? No. Yes, happy first day of Advent. Yes, December the 1st. Who'd have thunk it? That's very cool. Did everyone open up a small window today? Small window. Aaron's doing good. Excellent. And everyone's opening up their windows. That's good. Oliver has. Cool. Very good. Who are we learning about today? Today we are looking at Albert Camus. That's our philosopher. And hopefully you will enjoy him as much as I do. Well, just give it another 30 seconds or so to let people get in. No, he is not German. He is French, Algerian, hence why I am today in Algeria. Oh, Aaron's off to open a window right now. Very good. What archipelago is this? This is not an archipelago. This is the coastline or some of the coastline of Algeria. I don't know exactly where in Algeria I am, but yeah, somewhere nice. Yeah. Robert's got a Christmas jumper on. That's pretty cool. Feeling very December-y. Nice one. All right. Good morning, those of you who have just come in. Good morning. Let's see who we have today. All right. So our philosopher today is Albert Camus. Here he is, looking all Camus-y. Camus-y? Is that a word? He looks cool, says Robert. Yes, he is quite famous for being quite a cool philosopher. He dressed very cool. He was famously handsome. I mean, you may think he's handsome or you may not. Yes, he's a French philosopher, so he has to have a cigarette. This is true. I mean, that it would just be wrong if he didn't, I suppose. Not something that we encourage today. But back in the 1950s, yeah, being a French philosopher with a cigarette was kind of standard if you were a French philosopher. Now we've got his dates up here, 1913 to 1960, which means he died pretty young. He was only 45, 46. And we're going to look today at his, good morning, Susie, at his philosophy, of course. We, like all philosophers that we look at, we don't really have time to look at absolutely everything they ever said or did, but I've tried to pick some of the main themes of Camus' work. And so we're going to start by looking at his life a little bit, what kind of a man he was and where he came from and things like that. Then we're going to have a look at his idea that life is absurd. And then we're going to have a look at some solutions to that. One being kill yourself, one being believe in God, and one being acceptance. We're going to have a look at how you could choose your own adventure. We're going to visit our little happy Sisyphus, and we're going to choose love before we get to his early death. Oh dear. But I quite like Camus, so hopefully you will too. He's a philosopher that is quite different from some of the other philosophers we've looked at. Usually, most of the time, philosophers are kind of a bit strange and maybe even a little bit boring as people. Camus is very much not. Yes, not crazy like some, or maybe he is. I don't know. So, first up, Camus was born in 1913. He is not rich. That's the first thing. Most philosophers that we've looked at so far, not all certainly, but a lot of them have come from really well-to-do families. Families where everyone's expected to be rich and intelligent, and they have the money to sit around and think. Camus doesn't really fit in with that. His father dies when he is pretty young. Yeah. Just a baby, I think. Well, I'm not exactly sure what date he died. His mother was lovely, and he loved his mum, but she wasn't particularly rich or powerful or intelligent. In fact, she was illiterate. She couldn't even read and write. She was basically a peasant, as was his dad. She was a cleaner, I think, all her life, not like Wittgenstein's rich family or Soren Kierkegaard's rich family or, any of the other philosophers. This is not going so well. I don't know. It's not going too badly. But Camus is lucky because he goes to school and he has teachers who discover pretty early on that he is, unusually intelligent, more intelligent than the other people in his class at his age. And so they encourage him. And just before he dies, Camus will win the Nobel Prize for being such a clever clogs. So that's pretty good. But as we can see in this picture here, he is not like a very, what we would call, I suppose, a nerdy kid. He grows up and his main love is sport, football in particular. And he's even part of the Algerian football team, a very good goalkeeper, which is why he's here. We're holding the ball, I guess. I don't really get football. But he's quite a famous and very successful footballer in his early life, in his 20s, so in the 1930s. And then the war comes along, and he ends up being part of La French Resistance, fighting against Nazi occupation in France. Now, he is French Algerian, which means that although he lived most of his time in France, certainly not all of it, he lived a lot in Paris and then in the south of France. But the French people, they never really took him seriously because he's part Algerian. And for them, it's like, well, he's a bit scummy. He's a bit of a peasant. It doesn't help that he is like literally a peasant as well. That's not good. So whereas other philosophers at the time, like Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir, they are, well respected and everyone wants to be with them. Camus is a little bit of a laughing stock because he's just a poor boy and nobody loves him. Oh dear. Except lots of people love him because he's beautiful and he dresses like a film star and he talks like a film star and he's a very good footballer. So it is said that in the last 10 years of his life, he never went a single moment without having at least 3 girlfriends at the same time. And you can either include his wife in that or not. But he was constantly going out with multiple women who all thought that he was basically a film star. There you go. So, yes, a big cheater, a massive, great big, boggle-eyed cheater is what he is. But as we'll see, as part of his philosophy, to him, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Intriguing man. Crowded, yes. A very crowded lifestyle. But as we'll see, Camus, he just loves love. That's what he loves. Whoa, that's a pointless saying. But we'll come to that towards the end, I guess. So we're looking at a man who is, he's a normal guy, I suppose, if not a little bit fancy, but he's not rich, he's not powerful. He's going to make his way in the world based on his writing skill, his brain power, and his smashing good looks. Maybe he made this philosophy just for himself. Maybe, Robert. But, things can get pretty dark in the world of Camus. So let's jump into his principle of absurdism as much as we can today. Now, a lot of the time, Camus is put in the same camp as Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, Simone de Beauvoir, and Sartre and others as an existentialist. But he himself did not like to be called an existentialist. He and Sartre didn't get on very well. They were often arguing with each other and complaining about each other and calling each other names. Quite immature, really. So he called himself an absurdist, not an existentialist, although there are definite similarities. So we need to understand Camus' idea that the world, the universe, life in general is just absurd. And to do this, we're going to take this very simple image and we're going to try and figure out just how absurd it is. Hi, Brea. Yes, I'm feeling much better. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. We're talking about Albert Camus today, who is quite amazing. Yes, so Robert says that these people are just drinking wine. Yeah, it doesn't look particularly absurd, does it? Doesn't look particularly interesting, but let us think about it. Let us delve into what is actually going on in this picture. So these two people, yeah, we can give them names or not, it doesn't really matter. We've got a man and a woman. They're sat at a table. It looks to me like it's a table at a restaurant maybe, and they're drinking glasses of wine. Jenna and Louis. Thanks, Raiden. Okay, we have Jenna and we have Louis. They seem to be having fun. Now, most people would look at this scene and say, oh yeah, there's two people drinking some wine. Bit boring, really. Certainly not particularly interesting. Certainly not particularly absurd, It's not completely mad what they're doing. But then we actually start to think about what they're doing. These two people, they're sat down together drinking a load of very squashed and then slightly gone off grapes. Yeah. The fact they don't have eyes is absurd. That's true. Maybe I should have taken a photograph instead. But yeah, they've got a whole load of grapes that have been smashed to bits and left to go a bit manky in a bottle or a barrel, and then poured by some other random third-party man, probably a man, could have been a woman, we don't know, some kind of waiter, into a sort of weird collection of melted sand that has been blown out using air through yet another party's lungs to form these glasses. And that wine has ended up in the glass and they're now drinking it. That wine that has been created by sunlight and nutrients in the soil and I don't know, strange fertilizers coming from the bottoms of creatures. I mean, the whole idea of wine surely is absurd. And the fact that they're sat there wearing clothes that have been made out of materials, possibly that have been gathered halfway around the world and sewn and stitched together and then dyed weird colors using completely other different plants or chemicals. All by hundreds of different people that they've never met. I mean, that's weird. And they've spent money on these things, this wine and these clothes, and to be able to sit at this table. I mean, what is money? I mean, it's just this round coin that somebody grubbed up out of the earth and then stuck some random king or queen or president's face on. Oh, that's weird. And the fact that they're even managing to meet at this same time at the same place is completely absurd. I mean, at some point, somebody had to decide that by looking at the movements of the stars and planets, we would ascribe some kind of number to each moment of each day. So we could say absurd statements like, let us meet at 8 o'clock. What is 8 o'clock? That's mad thing. What is that? When the clock is 8? What is 8? 8 is just this weird number. It's just a kind of quiddly-widdly pencil mark that has no real meaning at all. And I mean, the only reason they're there is because they've chosen on a time that somebody has invented, when really they're just two sentient creatures sat on a massive rock that's floating around space, revolving around a great big burning gas ball. I mean, does any of it make any sense? It's the most absurd. It is very confusing, Alison. It's completely mind-bogglingly absurd. Yeah, it is, Raiden. It's going to give you existential crisis. Absurdist crisis today. Thank you very much. But if we think about anything, everything is completely mad. It's just completely mad. I mean, before, I've forgotten their names already. Oh no. Louis, that was the man. Before Louis goes to have this meal, maybe he strokes his dog, Think how absurd a dog is. It's this creature, it's this collection of cells, which has been sort of bred by humans over thousands and thousands of years until what once was a wolf is now a fluffy little poodle. That's weird. That's absurd. That's nonsense. Jenna, she probably spent time combing her hair. Why? To make the weird sort of dying follicles on the top of her head look more beautiful? What? What's that? What? That's absurd. Why did they even bother? They may as well just sit in a hole and eat mud. Yeah? They may as well just crawl around like pig beasts. Why are they doing all this weird stuff? It's completely mad. The complexity of life is absurd. It sounds very absurd. Yes. Yeah, there you go. Reagan says we're pretty weird too. We think these weird thoughts, and we're made out of these weird mushy skin things. It's all so absurd. What's the point in any of it? It's complete madness, the whole thing. That's what Camus reckons. Which is a nice place to start, isn't it, today? The world is mad. Everything we do is mad. Our A-level's absurd. Very much so, I'm afraid, Brea. I mean, really, in the grand scheme of the universe, does it matter what kind of learning you do? And then you end up with some kind of number attributed to a name and some kind of subject. That's always or some kind of abstract concept anyway. I mean, do the, I don't know, the atoms floating around in a far distant galaxy care? No, because it's absurd. It almost sounds like everything's pointless. Oh, nothing. But A-levels are no more absurd than anything else. I'm not trying to tell you to stop doing your A-levels. No, that's not how that works, Brea. Was Camus high? No, Camus not high. Camus is very sensible. Everything is absurd. Everything's absurd. I mean, the very fact that anything makes any sense at all is a mad idea. So if that's our starting point, we then have to try and decide, well, what do we do? If we live in a world that is absurd, there's three main things that we can do. That's what Camus says anyway. Yes, that's one of them, Brea. We become more absurd. Yes, maybe. So this is the core of Camus' philosophy. Okay, it's not everything, but it is the core. And the biggest philosophical question for him is, why don't we just kill ourselves? Which sounds like a pretty dark question. Why don't we just kill ourselves now? The world is nonsense. Everything's completely absurd. So why don't we just kill ourselves? There's no point to anything. We may as well just die now. And so we'll come to that now. But then we catch up with the questions in the chat. Oh, I see. Yeah, this is good. Alison's asking, what does the word absurd mean? So that's a tricky question, I suppose. To him, to Camus, and in this context, absurd means pointless, ridiculous, just a waste of time. Yeah, that's absurd. So to him, it's just the whole world is pointless. Let's put it that way. Maybe that's the simplest way. It has no real point to it because it's just a whole load of really weird stuff that's happening, and people experience it for a bit and then they die, and the world keeps on going being strange. That's basically it. Thank you. Raiden says here, wildly unreasonable, illogical, or inappropriate. Yes, illogical for sure is a word that Camus would ascribe to absurdity. Illogical, unreasonable, but maybe not inappropriate, as we'll see. So, solution number one, kill yourself. There is no point to life. Life is absurd. So you may as well kill yourself now. It kind of doesn't matter if you do or you don't, because either way, nothing makes any sense and everything's absurd. But you may as well, just to get it over and done with, I suppose. You're living in this weird world where you sit there drinking squash grapes out of a piece of melted sand. I mean, you may as well just die. Yeah, no, I quite like this gravestone. Yeah. Now, Brea says it might make other people sad. That's true. If you kill yourself, then other people might be sad. And to be honest, Camus, it's a grim question to start with. Why don't we just all kill ourselves? But he doesn't think you should kill yourself. He thinks that's actually missing the point. So if you kill yourself, then you have destroyed the absurdity. You've destroyed the world, because everything's only absurd because you experience it as such. So if you take away your physical body, then you can't experience the absurdity of the world, and therefore, you've just wasted everything. I mean, yeah, there's no point to anything, but that doesn't mean you have to die. If you die, then there really is no point to anything. But there's no anything to have a point, which is subtly different. Yeah. So he starts there with the question, why not kill ourselves? And his answer is very clear. We don't kill ourselves because that is just a waste. It's a complete pointless, enjoy the absurdity. That's the idea. So it may sound a bit grim, but he's not really. He's trying to persuade people that actually in life, most of the stuff that we experience is worth experiencing, and it's worth being around for. Camus has been described as a champion of the ordinary. Yeah, a lot of philosophers, they sit around and they talk about, how you should give yourself over to the best art, or the most beautiful this, or the most amazing that, and spend your life listening to the most complicated music you can find, and whatever. Camus doesn't. Camus says sitting with someone and having a drink of wine is brilliant. That's brilliant. That's amazing. Sitting on the beach in Algeria, watching the sun go up or go down, that's amazing. Yeah, that's worth living for. There's no, if you killed yourself, you would miss that. So yeah, basically just have fun, but maybe not even fun. Simple things. Yeah. Just enjoy the simplicity. Just enjoy this absurdity. Don't kill yourself, because then there's nothing that you can experience anymore. And, well, then sure, nothing's absurd anymore, but also nothing is anything. So it's, you haven't solved anything, really. It's irrational, he says, to kill yourself. It is an irrational answer to a problem. I have this problem. Do I solve the problem? Do I try and work around the problem? Or do I kill myself so the problem goes away? Most people, would say that killing yourself is not the solution, and he would agree. So then he says, there's another way of dealing with the fact that everything is absurd. And that way, Helen asks what's wrong with absurdity, and we'll get there. Yes, Helen, yeah, I think that's what he's thinking about. So he says, some people, they choose to get through life by believing in God. And, he comes from France, from Algeria, so he's mainly thinking about the Christian God, but it doesn't have to be. It's kind of irrelevant in this argument. But that's what people do. They find themselves in a world that's completely, absolutely absurd and crazy, has no real purpose or meaning to it. It's just stuff happening all the time. And they decide that they will take meaning from, the Bible, Quran, I don't know, the Tipitaka, whatever it is. They will find a holy book with some holy rules in it, and then they will live their life based on those holy rules. And if anyone asks them, what's the point in life? They will say, well, it has been given to us by God. And God has given us these rules. And the aim of this life is to behave yourself and be, happy in the next life. Or, the aim of this life is to help others and follow these commandments, or whatever it is. But Camus doesn't like that. He says, no, that's also irrational. That makes no sense. If we're living in a world that's completely absurd, giving yourself over to a list of rules that somebody else has made, whether that's God or the people who wrote the books of God or whatever, he says that's basically killing yourself. Not physically, your physical body will still be there. It's not the same as actually killing yourself, but he says this is philosophical suicide. Ugh. Basically, what you've done is you've killed your thoughts, you've killed your brain. Yeah. So if you kill yourself, as in our first example, then you have no body with which to consider the absurdity of the world and enjoy it. If you believe in God and give over all of your personal thoughts and ideas over to religion, then you've just killed your brain. And you still won't be able to deal with the absurdity. You're just blindly following someone else. One of Camus' nice little quotes is, to rebel is to be, to exist is to rebel. You shouldn't just follow other people and what they say you should do, whether that's a priest or a book or, I don't know, an angel. Yeah. Now, there's a good question here. Brea says, well, what if following the rules makes you happy? Well, for Camus, it couldn't make you happy because it's irrational. And if you are not, for Camus, philosophy was very, very important. And philosophy to Camus means using your own brain. Yeah. So he says that if you just blindly follow something else, then you're not using your brain, you're not engaging in philosophy, and therefore your life is not going to be so happy. Now, you might think, well, actually, there's millions of people on Earth who are religious and seem to be quite happy. So maybe that's, where Camus falls down. But it's an interesting idea. Now this Brea asks, would the same be true for giving your mind over to the media or societal rules? Yeah. Yeah, like Diogenes. Yeah, I suppose there's definitely a similarity between Diogenes here and Camus, isn't there? So yes, giving yourself over to anything, even just doing what your boss says, every day. If your boss keeps telling you that, there's a certain way that you have to be working, and for you, it doesn't personally work. Maybe he's or she, the boss has come in and said, right, everyone, I've read this article, everyone works better when standing up. So I've taken away all your desks and I've given you standing desks only, and everyone's going to work much better here like this. And that might work for lots of people in the office. It might be brilliant. But for you, it might not. It might give you a bad back, or you've got some kind of personal problem with your left foot that means that you can't stand up all day. Just following the boss's orders would lead to you being unhappy and less productive. So what the brave thing and the good thing to do is to go to the boss and say, well, actually, I'd rather sit down at a desk, please. So can I have my old desk back? I'm going to work better that way and I'll be happier. And, being a rebel doesn't mean anything more than that. It doesn't mean running up to your boss, punching them in the face, setting fire to the standing desk, ripping all your clothes off and screeching like a wolf, although that would be fun. Being a rebel is just doing things that work best for you, for Camus, yeah? So when it comes to religion, sure, some people might have a great time following the rules of the Bible. But of course, for Camus, one of those commandments, thou shalt not commit adultery, doesn't really fit with his life. He likes having lots of girlfriends and wives and girlfriend wives. So, at some point he says, well, being a rebel, I have to just go against these silly rules, or at least this particular one. But at the same time, he doesn't throw all rules out the window. He doesn't say everyone should go around just killing people or, I don't know, setting fire to themselves. So, he thinks that justice is important. We should have our own way of doing things, but at the same time, we should follow some sense of justice in the universe, as absurd as that is, which is where it gets a bit complicated, I guess. So for Camus, following religion is philosophical suicide. It's just doing away with your own brain and then just sort of flopping around like a Magikarp, just kind of taking in the absurdity of the world, blob, blob, blob. Mm. Robert says this sounds fun. What the going mad in the office? Perhaps, but ultimately may not help. um, so believing in God for him is irrational, but that doesn't mean that other people couldn't be religious. We know that other existentialists can be religious. You know, Kierkegaard was fundamentally religious. Yes, I rebel, therefore I am. That's his saying, ripped off from Descartes. But ultimately, it comes down to choice. You see, it comes down to the individual. Blindly following religion is not okay. You know, using religion as some part of your worthy life is fine, but you know, being a slave to it is not. So then we've got the third option. Yeah, remember we started with the idea that the world is insane and absurd, and there are three main ways that we can deal with that. One, we can just kill ourselves now. You know, everything's pointless, therefore why exist? But he doesn't like that. He thinks that's a rubbish idea. It's irrational. The second option is religion. You know, follow what someone else tells you to do all the time, become a slave, give away your philosophical mental freedoms. And again, that's absurd. It's irrational, so therefore it's pointless. So the third choice, and the one that he is going to go with, is acceptance. Welcome to acceptance. Enjoy the journey. That's what it's about, says Camus. This is his answer to how we live in a world that's completely barking mad. We accept it. We enjoy it. I think Helen said earlier, you know, what's wrong with everything being absurd? Nothing, says Camus. That's brilliant. Yeah, let's enjoy that. It gives us something to think about, doesn't it? Gives us things to enjoy. Oh, how do we spell his name? Like this. Here we are. Is that going to work? No. Albert, which is just Albert. Camus, like that. There we go. Yes. Now, if you usually, a little aside here, since we've just written his name down, maybe think of it. If you ever want to read some books by a philosopher, Camus is a good place to start. He only wrote a few books. You know, he died relatively young anyway, and all the books that he wrote are very small. Yeah, so they're quite short and concise, and they're really, really good. They're very well written. So if you ever, you know, I'd love it if everyone sat down and read Wittgenstein, but to be honest with you, it's a really hard job reading Wittgenstein and trying to understand it. It's long and complicated and German. But, you know, Camus, anyone can pick up Camus and read one of his books and just love it. Yeah. Or even just pick, you know, you can go and listen to them free on YouTube. You don't even need to pick up the actual book. Oh no, Wittgenstein is translated. It's just, you know, German philosophy is. Oliver's like, German, what? No, it's very German philosophy, especially, you know, earlier German philosophy is famously very, very complicated. Yeah, just like really complicated. Whereas the French philosophy is a little bit more poetic and flowery, so it's a bit easier to read. You know, that's generally speaking the way it goes. Not always like that, but usually. How is my computer writing so neat? Oh, I've got a little writing pad. So yeah, I cheat. I use a pen, basically. Yeah. He must have been small if anyone could pick him up. Oh, his books. Yes, his books are tiny, tiny. He himself was relatively short, but not tiny. Not like a pocket-sized midget. No, no, no. Anywho, so what we should do, says Camus, is we should accept the absurdity of the universe and enjoy it. Enjoy the things that are happening now. Yeah, we're sat there drinking our wine. And sure, we could sit there and we could stare into each other's eyes, Julia and Louis, I believe it was. They could stare into each other's eyes and then they could silently scream at each other as they thought about the depths of the absurd universe and themselves spinning around on a ball of rock around a hydrogen bomb. And yeah, they could just, I don't know, slowly just stop breathing, collapse on the floor like two Magikarp and be done with it. But of course we don't, do we? The other option is to sit there, drink some wine, make some small talk, have a lot of fun. That's way better. Hello, Fiona. Good morning. You joined at a strange point there, Fiona. So enjoy yourself. Enjoy the small things. Drink the wine, have the chit chat, play a game of tiddlywinks. Nothing's any less pointless than anything else or any more pointless than anything else. So you may as well pick what you enjoy and run with it. And he also says, look, enjoy the journey. That's the thing. Yeah. Too many people give themselves some kind of end goal, which is huge and difficult or almost impossible to get to. And they tell themselves, oh, when I get there, I'll be happy. So, when I'm the most successful plastic surgeon in London, or when I'm the richest art critic in Paris, or when I'm the woman with the most children in my village, or whatever, it doesn't matter what the aim is. They say, well, yeah, I'll be happy when I get there. Yeah. When I've finished my A levels and I have 3 A's, then I will be happy. But that's ridiculous, says Camus. To get your A levels, it takes 2 years. What, and you're going to just have 2 miserable years so that you can end up with like happiness at the end? That's ridiculous. That's a waste of time. That's not enjoying or accepting anything. No, what you need to do is you need to put everything you can into those A levels and enjoy doing them. Yeah? Don't think for a second about whether you're going to pass or fail or even take the exam. That's the irrelevant bit. But you could spend 2 years enjoying every lesson you go to, every book you read, every, YouTube video you watch. You could spend 2 years having long, hot baths, thinking about your philosophy degree, if you're doing a philosophy degree. And you enjoy yourself on the way. And then at the end, yeah, you may end up with some A levels or you may not. It's kind of irrelevant at that point, though, because you've just had 2 brilliant years. Do that. That's the thing. Enjoy the journey, accept the absurdity of it. And Bray's like, okay, I'll do that. This is what Camus says. I don't know. Maybe you should just stop messing about. Get out of the bath and do more work. I don't know. Camus says, though, enjoy the journey. And the end goal will sort of look after itself. Yeah. So let's think about some of those end goals. Choose your own adventure. That's what Camus is talking about here, really. Although I don't know if you ever read a Choose Your Own Adventure book. I like this one, though. You're the star of the story, your very own robot. Oh, yeah. I like this book because I've never read it, but just look how weird the cover is. It's a girl. She's made a robot. There's some kind of thug pirate metal gang, maybe, involved. There's a whale and there's a lightning struck robot. I don't know what it's about, but it seems pretty good. Bads are bad for the planet. Don't tell me that. Don't tell me anything like that. That's absurd. No, it's fine. It does look like a pretty old book, doesn't it, Oliver? This is true. But the point being, I don't know if any of you guys have ever read a Choose Your Own Adventure book, but that's basically what Camus is about, yeah? Life is pointless and absurd. There is no point to life. Now, you could go, okay, and jump off a cliff, but as we've seen, Camus says that's nonsense. I'm not going to do that. That's irrational. You could say, oh, no, there is no point to anything. I must believe in God and dance around and do the God song. No, 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 no. That's the God song. But no, Camus says that's absurd. Oh, look, Aaron's read 5 of these. That's good. Instead, what you need to do is decide what your own point of life is. Maybe it is to be the most successful plastic surgeon in London. That's a rubbish goal, but if that's the point of life, then go for it for you. Maybe someone else's point of life will be to make as many other people happy around them as they can. Cool, legit, why not? Someone else's point of life might be to drink as much wine as they physically can within every 24-hour period. That seems strange, but go for it, fella. Some people might just want to spend their life stroking whales. just finding as many whales as they can and stroking them. It kind of doesn't matter. But the point is that you can make your own point. You can have your own meaning of life. And everyone can do that. And it's okay. We don't have to agree. We don't all have to say, oh, yes, the point of life is to follow the 10 Commandments and finally get to a point where we are awarded a great big brown hat by the Grand Poobah. Yeah, I mean, I'm just talking nonsense here. But if everyone says, well, that's the point of life, we're all going to try and follow the 10 Commandments as laid down by Gerald the Spoon, and we're all going to get to a point where we are awarded the brown hat, well, then suddenly life is full of competition. Everyone's stressing about the brown hat and the 10 Commandments of Greg the Spoon and Gerald the Spoon. I don't know, Robert. I mean, Gerald the Spoon, he did speak down from on high with his spoony face, and he did say, Commandment 1, everyone must jump on their left leg. Commandment 2, everyone must wave backwards at the moon each night. I mean, Gerald the Spoon, he's a right old difficult one. He thought he was real. No, Raiden, don't follow the cult of Gerald the Spoon. No, that's the point. Gerald the Spoon is not cool, all right? God, it's irrational. But if everyone decided, right, we're going to follow the commandments of Gerald the Spoon and we're going to aim to get the brown hat, then there's going to be competition there. And everyone, some people would be suited to that. Their nature, their character, the way that they were brought up or whatever will lead them to really enjoy the commandments of Gerald the Spoon. They'll be like, yeah, all of these 15 commandments of Gerald, they make sense to me. It's brilliant. I'm going to live my life as a spooner. Cool. But then other people may feel forced into that, and they might not actually agree with any of the commandments of Gerald the Spoon. They might think secretly that Gerald the Spoon is a muppet. What even is this, says Fiona. So maybe for some people, following the spoon is the way to go. But for other people, being a rebel is better and saying, no, I do not agree with the rules of Gerald the Spoon, and instead I will live my own life, which is dedicated towards making pottery in the shape of rabbits. I will fill my life with pottery rabbits and I will be happy. And sure, they will be. Choose your own adventure. Do it your own way. Pick your own goal and aim for it, but don't make it an insane goal. Don't make it so hard that only 1 in a billion could get there, because that's also absurd, isn't it? That makes no sense. Pick a goal that you can have and work towards that. Oh no, that's a terrible cult, Raiden. Don't do that. The 10 Commandments of the Pottery Rabbits. That would be fun. Yeah. But you see, that's the problem. As soon as people take these ideas to heart and start spreading them, that's where we come to problems. Suddenly, we, even with the best intention of the world, so, the person who comes up with the 15 Commandments of Gerald the Spoon, for them, they may be perfect, might fit their life like a glove fits a hand. But as soon as you start forcing other people to do that, or influencing them, or pushing them into following your meaning of life, it's not going to be as rewarding for anyone else. So don't try and make other people do your thing. Find your own commandments by all means. Find your own idea of morals and justice and follow that. But don't expect other people to. You can have your meaning of life, which you follow, and your wife or husband or children or best friend, Jeff, they can have their meanings of life. And hopefully your meanings of life won't, contradict each other too much, and you'll all end up happy. That's the idea. So, happiness, Sisyphus. Here we are. Now, I'm not sure if you guys know the myth of Sisyphus. I'm not sure if I can say the myth of Sisyphus. Raiden, you should get yourself a friend called Jeff. Sounds fun. Did I choose my own path of life? That's a good question. That is a good question. Who knows? Maybe. Yeah. Some people know the myth, and it is a Greek myth. That's right, Oliver. Yeah. So the myth of Sisyphus is that Sisyphus, he is undergoing a horrible punishment. He's down there in Hades, in hell, Greek hell, if you like, and his punishment for being a very naughty king is to have to push a boulder up a hill. And every time he gets towards the top of the hill, the boulder rolls down again and he has to start pushing it back up. So far, this has been going on for about 3,000 years, at least, just pushing a boulder up a hill. And the original myth of Sisyphus is supposed to be a warning to people, don't disrespect the gods, because if you do, when you die, they're going to give you a horrible punishment like this. You're going to spend all your life pushing something up a hill, something which is ultimately, utterly pointless. But, says Camus, maybe Sisyphus isn't so unhappy. Yeah, sure, he's doing something difficult and there's no point to it. But that's like all of us, right? Because the world is absurd. We live in a world that has no ultimate point to it. Doesn't make any sense. Just kind of spins around. So why don't we're all like Sisyphus. Anything we do, whether it's, Sisyphus could be having children and helping them grow up happy. Yeah, like most parents. Sisyphus could be working in a bank, making sure that the world economy keeps ticking around. He might work in a matchstick factory where he's making matches so that people can light their candles. I don't know. But the point is, we're all doing everything that's totally absurd and repetitive. What is going to work every day? You go to work, you do the same thing. Yeah, there's differences within each day maybe, but generally speaking, we just do stuff, pretend there's a point to it. Wow, sounds depressing. But it doesn't have to be, because Sisyphus could be perfectly happy, probably is perfectly happy, pushing his boulder up the mountain. I mean, his life is simple. He doesn't have to overthink things. Yeah, he just pushes the boulder. And the fact that it never gets to the top, that he's never done, that's not really much of a problem, is it? Actually enjoying pushing the boulder is probably well worth it. So in life, everything we do is going to be pointless, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't enjoy doing it. Just make the most of it. Enjoy studying for your A-levels. Yeah, there's no point to them, but then there's no point to anything else. So you may as well have fun doing them. Have fun with your little children and with your big children and with your grandchildren and with your great-grandchildren, because yes, there's no point to any of them, but that doesn't matter. Enjoy it. Be happy. Just pushing that boulder, just carrying on. Keep on keeping on. There we go. I've got a question here from Raiden. If there is a hell, then why would we have to do nasty, hard, bad work? Why couldn't we just defect and leave hell? Well, because the point of hell in the stories is that you're trapped there and you're forced to do horrible things. But really, what Camus is saying is that that's all of us, isn't it? And you could look at it as hell, and you could say, oh no, I hate my job and I hate the fact that I have to get up out of bed every morning and do the same thing every day. It's so boring and it's so pointless, and I hate the fact that I have to keep, washing up the dishes every day and feeding that stupid cat. And I mean, you could look at your life and you could say, this is just horrible. It's just the same repetitive thing over and over again, and the whole thing's pointless because one day I'm going to die. But most people don't think like that. Most of the time you think, wow, okay, this stuff is all a little bit pointless. That doesn't mean that I shouldn't enjoy doing it. Have fun with it. Yeah. Brea says this is similar to Stoicism. I suppose it is similar to Stoicism. Yeah. Yeah. Where's the big difference in this and Stoicism? I guess with Camus, instead of being, I suppose Stoicism from its original idea has more of an attachment to some kind of overall virtue, some kind of rule of the universe of morality, which Camus doesn't really track with. Morality to him is a bit more fluid, I suppose. But yeah, there's definitely similarities. And then Brea says, if you don't enjoy doing your job, shouldn't you just change? So you could, yeah, definitely. But Camus would say the better thing to do, if possible, would be to just learn to enjoy the thing that you're doing, because any job you do is going to be as equally as pointless. Yeah, don't fool yourself into thinking that, if I were, the top actress in the country and I was always on TV and giving interviews and, in all the biggest productions and movies and stuff, then my job would be have any more point to it than, Justine, who works at the fish shop. All she does is serves fish and chips to people every day, but doesn't matter. It's one of them isn't any better than the other. We're all in the same boat. We're all pushing a stone up a hill. So you may as well enjoy pushing the stone. And maybe sometimes that means you should go and do something else that makes you more happy. That's fine. But ultimately, at some point, you've got to stop and just say, look, whatever I'm doing is pointless. Therefore, I'm going to enjoy whatever I'm doing. There you are. And that's true, Fiona. Sometimes Justine is also doing sausages and different types of fish and the sauces. Yes, this is true. It's not a pointless job. It's a wonderful, wonderful job. Oliver asks, is then death pointless? Yeah, no more pointless than life. There is nothing after death for Camus. You die and you are done. And that's it. But yeah, that's it. So there you go. So Raiden says, but if everything is pointless, why do I even do your A levels? Because you should enjoy doing them. Yeah, because they're going to bring you joy. That's why. It's the same reason we do anything. Camus says, choose love. Yeah? If you're ever in a moral conundrum, if you're never quite sure what to do with your life, follow the path that makes the most love. Now, of course, with Camus, he loved women, like lots of them, all the time. And he was a firm believer that love is more important than any rules. Yeah. So if you're ever in a situation and there's the loving thing to do, the thing that you love, or there's the morally right thing to do, then always choose the loving thing to do. Okay. Isn't love pointless? To Camus, not so much. Love is the point. Yeah. Love is the point for him, remember he says choose your own adventure, but for him, following love is the point. That is what life is about. Yeah. Because there is no point in doing anything unless you love it. Yeah. So, for Brea's question about a job, yeah, if you really hate your job, leave it. It'd be great if you could love it. Yeah, it's better to have a job that you love, for sure. If you've got a husband or wife, but you meet someone else who is more pretty, or you just love a bit more, then leave that other person. Yeah, who cares that you promised you love them forever when you got married? You don't anymore. Move on. Yeah, which sounds a bit callous, doesn't it? Josh asked, what if someone loves killing? Then I suppose Camus would say, if that's truly what your love is, then go for it. Be a murderer. Now, the justice of the universe will stop, or the justice of other people will stop you doing that. And you may find that your life is rather short, or at least very much in a prison. But if that's truly what you think truly brings you love, that's what you love, like truly love, then he would say it would be mad not to follow your love. He would probably say that nobody does love killing. That's not a thing that you can love anyway, but maybe. Yeah. Raiden says, but you need some things like food and money, so you can't always do the things that you love. And that is tricky, isn't it? Because sometimes the things that we love, they upset other people, with the example of cheating on your wife or whatever. Sometimes the things that we love aren't the things that are particularly good for us, like a person who's just drinking wine all the time because they love wine, or eating cake all the time because they just love cake. It may not be the best for us, but as a general rule, says Camus, choose love. Love's the thing that matters. Yeah. And if you love something, you truly love it, then that's what you should spend your time working towards. Make that the point of your choose your own adventure and follow love. Now, I don't know if we all agree with Camus. In some ways, he doesn't give us all the answers, that's for sure. His philosophical writing is it's quite limited. You know, it's short, it's concise. One of his famous novels is all about a man who just doesn't care about anything. He just kills a guy, shoots him, never really feels sorry about it. There was no reason he shot the guy. He just shot him, just died. It's all kind of pointless. And in the end, well, I won't spoil the end of the story. You can read it yourselves. But for Camus, the idea that, you know, we should live in this universe is an absurd one. But if we follow love, then we're all right. Izzy says she understands the way he thought like he thought. Maybe, yeah. Robert feels a bit depressed now. No, don't feel depressed, Robert. Enjoy life. That's what he's saying. Life is good. Life is good. Now, in 1960, poor old Camus was in this car. As you can see, the car ain't looking too hot, and nor was Camus by the end of it. This is how and where Camus died, in a car on his way to Paris. Now, when he was just traveling from the south of France to Paris for some kind of, I don't know, thing. When he died, Fiona, is that a butcher in the corner of the photo? It does look like, I guess he's a mechanic or something. Maybe he's a random butcher. I don't know. But Camus, he dies in a car crash. He's there with his publisher, the person who publishes his books, and his publisher's family. And in his pocket is a train ticket to Paris. But obviously, at the last moment, he decided, for some reason, not to take the train. He'd have a lift with his mate instead. If only he'd chosen otherwise. Because the car, a tire burst, and it swerved off the road, crashed into a car, and he died pretty much instantly. Camus' wife and children were on the train. He'd bought them all tickets, including himself. They got to Paris safely. He didn't. Yeah, poor Camus. Now, there are historians out there who are pretty sure that Camus' car didn't crash by accident. In fact, there was some cleverly planted Russian spy device inside the tire, which made it explode at a certain speed. And boom, he was killed by the Russians, which he may have been. We haven't really gone into his political life, but you know, he was in his early years a bit of a communist, and then he decided that communism was rubbish, which upset the Russians very much. Why would they want to kill him? Because he was speaking out against communism. It's a bit of a conspiracy theory, though, to be honest. More than likely, it's just one of those things. It was an accident. The driver might have been going too fast. You know, it's the 1960s. Cars aren't as safe as they are today. You know, no seatbelts or anything. So maybe it was just one of those things. But that's how Camus died, far too young. He was only 45, 46 years old. And yeah, no more Camus after that. But it's kind of a wasteful way to die. It's kind of an absurd way to die. And I kind of like to think that as he was careering into that tree, he probably thought, this is weird, you know. And hopefully he tried to enjoy that journey, you know, right up to the bit before it hit the tree. I'm hoping he was enjoying the journey. I mean, if it fits with his philosophy, he certainly was. So there you go. Albert Camus, 1913 to 1960. Yeah. Maybe he did it on purpose. I don't think it was a suicide. I mean, he was pretty clear in his writing that he's not going to die, to kill himself. That's absurd. Yeah. Did the other people in the car die? As far as I'm aware, they did. I've never really looked into that, though. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. It was wonderful to see you. Hopefully you enjoyed Camus. And like I say, he's one of those philosophers that you could pop onto YouTube or Audible or whatever, get one of his books and listen to it over the next couple of hours and be done. And yeah, you may very well enjoy it, hopefully. All right. Thanks, guys. See you next time. Bye. Thanks, Brea. Bye.